Well, good morning as we're sitting here at LTV on this beautiful morning, Friday morning, April 26th, year 2024, here with the Hello Show. And my name is Haim Mizrahi, continuing with the tradition of public access and the tradition of the Hello Show that's been on the air since 1980. Of course, not to fail to mention the contribution by Fraser Dougherty, Francis Ann, and of course the likes of you out there to make it your business to enhance and fortify the concept of public access. Here today we have my friend Michael Lowenthal,
Löwenthal,
Lovent,
Löwenthal,
Lowenthal.
however you want to
I
call me.
don't even want to begin to tell you the kind of back and forth interactions that he and I have, considering that we hardly know each other. A lot is going on.
Well, that's why I want to say good morning, Haim.
You go behind, yes,
I love you, like Jim Carrey would say. I like you a lot,
a lot.
but I'm not sure why I'm here.
Listen, you're here because life needs people to interact intellectually and emotionally and spiritually.
Yes, I love that.
Because
Yeah.
that's what's ensuring the continuation of a balance much needed for the longevity and survival of this world. Obviously, you know
Yes,
that.
yes, absolutely.
We already proved to one another that our conversations are at least meaningful and profound. I don't recall we ever talking about the weather or
No. By the way, I don't know. Is the weather all right?
Is the weather is all right? Yeah.
Okay, it is. Okay, you assure me, right?
Yeah, I assure
Okay,
you, and I'm
yeah.
going to just lower that just a little bit.
Okay.
That's okay. Yeah. So as I said, an answer to your question would be that. And I don't like to consider these interactions as interviews. Yeah, maybe the title is an interview, but actually it's all about interacting and bringing to life and to the surface things that you're not aware that are actually going to happen. So I know that you're someone who is creative. You're a businessman. You're a member of this community, and you're passionate about interacting and communicating with people. So that's what. So do you want to just say a few words about Michael?
Uh, well, basically, one of the things in life, there's like sort of a controversy or division in thought as to what changes your life ahead of time. Is it just flowing along and nothing happens? Or is it when you take action and something monumental changes in your life? So I can give you like two examples. One where I had nothing to do with it and it could have changed my life materially, and one where I took action and that really changed my life. It would not have been the same for sure. So the one that I took action on, I decided to take action, is meeting my wife. We were on the plane on the red eye coming back from LA, and I had a friend in California and he was a doctor, and at that time people did quaaludes. You remember what quaaludes? So he gave me a script, he shared with me half and half, and for the flight, I took like one quaalude. And where the woman that became my wife was sitting, Dorothy, she was sitting at the aisle, two seats, and right next to her was sitting a very handsome young gentleman. So I decided the row next to her was empty, like for the fourth seat, and I decided to lay down. And as I was waking up, she made a comment. She said, "I don't know how you cannot be nervous about flying." And at that time, it was twofold because this was only her second flight. First flight was going there because her brother had some interviews, and second flight is where we meet coming back to Newark. So we had a little exchange, etc., but nothing beyond that. And the second reason she was so nervous, there was I think, a pretty big crash in San Francisco, maybe a month earlier. I don't remember exactly.
A plane crash?
Yeah, there was a serious plane crash. So she was really very nervous about flying. So we arrive at Newark Airport, waiting for the luggage, and I'm saying to myself, I gotta take action. This is my last chance because if I don't, I will never ever see her again. So I gotta do it. So God was on my side at that moment. The guy took a walk, probably to the restroom, I'm not sure. And that's when I made my move. And here we are, I don't know how many years later. If I didn't do that, we wouldn't have our Davy boy, who's now 42, and we wouldn't have our Haley girl, who's now 30 something, and we wouldn't have our three beautiful grandchildren, little Luke, 2 years old, little uh, little Thomas, also about 2 years old, and precious little JJ, and she's about 9 months old.
I love
So,
it.
so if I wouldn't have done that, my life would have been totally different. Obviously, I wouldn't have any of this.
Yes.
I wouldn't be meeting you now.
Yeah,
Right,
probably you.
right. So
Yes.
the other example where I had no control of what was going to happen was in Israel. We were in Israel. My parents were German refugees in this little village called Ramat Adar, and it was basically the residents were all Yekepotzes. That's like the
Yes.
expression. You're
Yes.
familiar with that, right?
Yes.
And everybody there, had like a chicken farm, although I don't know how they learned about chicken farms. And my father was also, in order to make a living, we had a chicken farm. He worked as a laborer in a neighboring orange plantation, was surrounded by orange plantations. So he was in Germany, in Berlin. He was a doctor of law, and he was actually a judge in Berlin.
Your
So,
father.
my father, right. So my mother, they were already
He was a
engaged
judge in
in
Berlin
Berlin.
right after the war.
No, during the Nazi period.
Oh,
Yeah,
really?
yeah, leading up, right.
Woo.
Right. Yeah, 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 yeah,
Okay.
yeah, yeah. And they were engaged, my mother and my dad, and she left already early because she had a friend in London who also was from Israel. She left early, and she urged my mother to come to London. So my mother did. So then later on, my father was able to get out, and he went to London as well. They got married in London, and on their way, I think
What
by
year was
boat.
that?
Oh God, it's got to be in the mid 1930s. I don't know exactly.
Okay.
Anyway, they went by boat to Port Said and then overland, and they ended up in this village Ramat Adar.
I see.
So then I don't know how he got this offer, but he got an offer to be the law professor at the University of Afghanistan. Believe it or not, Afghanistan.
Afghanistan.
And they sent him the contract, they sent him the fare to come over and everything. We sold our house because we had a little house. We sold the house, ready to go, basically bags packaged or whatever you want to say. And then the War of Independence in 1948 broke
48.
out.
Yeah.
So can you imagine if the war would have broken out a year later? We would have been in Afghanistan, and I don't know what would have happened.
Yeah. You would have Afghani grandchildren.
Who the hell knows what would have been? But anyways, so that's an example of we didn't have any control. Circumstance made that.
Yes. And you know that the Kabbalah says that there's a right and a left. So that means if you make a decision,
Yeah.
the opposite decision that you could have made is also taking place. So there is a Michael that's actually
You mean in which instance?
like, let's just
The
say
Afghanistan?
if you weren't making the move and you wouldn't find yourself actually married to the woman that
Right.
but you would still have the other option that you didn't take, because the Kabbalah says that it goes in parallel lines. So you still went there and it still happened. You're not aware of it, but there's a parallel life of Michael, of all the opposite decision making process that you didn't choose to. And also, let's just say, they said that the Kabbalah says that, your shidduch, your
Engagement.
match, is designed for you, and it takes place when it takes place. But sometimes they say that you can. Someone told me that story where there was someone who was the day has arrived that he's going to meet his match, and they were both walking. He was in Jerusalem. She was walking from there to here for some shopping. He was going to a job interview, and they were supposed to meet at some point. So about a minute before they were supposed to meet, he started thinking about things that prevented that meeting from taking place and prolonging that separation. Now, in the same token, that took place in the parallel life of this person. as much as the fact that he did not meet her and your life went as it did, but still eventually you would have to meet her. So there's a double reality clashing with one another
Wait,
because
let me understand. Yeah.
when the meeting did not take place, it did take place in the parallel life of yours, but then you met that woman again and then you got married, so you actually have two parallel realities, out of which one has two realities within that one reality. So it's actually going hand in hand, and you have more your awareness of why things happened or didn't happen or happened later than they should have. You become more aware of it if you have double reality within one reality. But anyway,
I didn't get anything you
that's
said
good.
here.
That's good because you're not supposed to.
Okay, you're the philosopher.
No, no.
You're speaking like another language.
But fascinating to think about.
I'm thinking only about the people
You're still
who
talking
see
about
something see something monumental that they want to do because they know that's going to be something that will change their life. They have to take action, and most people don't take action. They only dream about it.
Yes.
So you have to, if you see something that really you think is important and will change your life, you got to take action.
You got to take action, correct?
You cannot just
But
dream about it.
your story.
I would have been dreaming about, if I only did that, then.
But you never know. You could have met.
Oh, that's such a long shot. She didn't live in my neighborhood.
No. You could have met someone else that would fulfill
Okay.
that just as much, and
But
maybe.
yeah, okay, my life.
But I guarantee you that Michael
would,
has another family somewhere else.
Yeah, but my life would have been totally different. It wouldn't be what I have now. And I'm very happy with what I have now.
Still, what you were sharing with us is profound. It might sound a gimmick saying, you got to take action in life. You got to, yes, we know that.
But in general, not only in this instance,
yes.
In general, when you see something that
what is this, if we take it one step forward, what is the significance, the real significance of you being able and choosing to reflect about it now?
Ask again. What is
what is the significance of that story that you just shared with us? That you can actually, once you realize that you're reflecting about it, that you're thinking about, in order to to remind yourself, and B, to maybe be a little more surprised even of what really took place. Why is it important? How is it picking up the shape that it's picking up in your life? So what does it really mean?
It's very, not to make it. I'm a simple guy, so I don't like to make things complicated. It just means that I'm thinking that I would not have done it. Obviously, you're right. I would have met somebody else eventually, but I have no idea how that would have worked out. My wife is Catholic, so I could have made. I'm Jewish. I could have made. My wife is shiksa, right? So very modest and everything. But I could have made. I could have met a Jewish girl, and she would have made, instead of dinner, she would have made a reservation all the time.
Yep. But
anyway, I have no idea how it would have turned out otherwise, but I'm super, super happy how it
did happen the way it did.
Because here's what I have. I have an incredible, wonderful son, David, and I have an incredible, beautiful daughter, and now I have incredible 3 beautiful grandchildren.
Fantastic.
And my beautiful wife.
Fantastic. I mean, you're describing perfection. I like that. I'm happy to hear that. But I want to go back to the times of whatever it is that you recollect, because you recollect some. What age were you when you moved to Israel with your dad?
No, I was born in Israel.
Oh, you were born in Israel.
No, my parents escaped from Nazi Germany. Their parents were kaput.
Yeah.
And they produced me in Ramat Adar.
Yes. No. That's
Bellingson Hospital.
So, I love that. Oh my God, Bellingson Hospital, man. So, what kind of stories did your father share with you? Did your father ever share stories with you about his time in Germany, in the time before the war, where the German people was civilized and was artistic, and was all about culture and all about kind of tolerance, and the heydays of an open society, enlightened by all means.
Unfortunately, I wish he or my mother would have done that, but no, neither one.
Did you ever?
The only thing that I remember is, and especially at at dinner with other friends, in the community, is they talked about, because my grandfather on my father's side was a notable art collector in Berlin. So, and my father was really struggling to get some of the paintings back, because he knew where at least one painting that eventually I received, he not in his lifetime, but somehow I got it, uh, and they was he how he was struggling, and all the correspondence and everything, and he couldn't get it. So I remember that conversation, but I don't remember anything that he ever talked to me about. Uh, about what you're referring to about.
So would his level of adaptation going to Israel? I mean, was there any struggle, and what was the nature of the struggle
Yeah,
to
well,
introduce himself and his family to
the
the state of Israel before it was the state of
yeah,
Israel?
right, was Palestine. That's right.
Yes,
The struggle was, here he came from a life where he was educated law professor and a judge in Berlin, and here all of a sudden he's in a small village having a chicken farm and working as a laborer in an orange plantations. I mean, that speaks for itself. You don't have to put
yeah,
any
but
more words
his
into it.
brilliance did not just go away. I mean, how did
No,
he?
no, no. But still, the life.
Yeah, but down the
That's
road did
that's
he?
why he accepted that. When I don't remember how he got that offer, but
But
that's
did he
why.
become a part of the establishment in Israel that he could really perform his skills?
No,
He didn't.
no,
Probably he didn't.
that wasn't available to him. Not in Ramat Adar. You have to remember, this is a small village,
Yes,
and traveling to Tel Aviv was like a big deal at that time. It was an adventure,
yes,
even though today it's, I don't know, it's north of Tel Aviv, maybe only about half an hour away. But
yes,
it was an
yes,
adventure those days.
yes. It's an adventure today, also.
Well, in a different way. Yeah,
In a
right.
different way, yes. So, so your wife is an artist, and I just saw some
My
of
wife is an
yeah,
artist.
and I saw some of her paintings, and it seems like she needs to be a dedicated artist in order to create what she's creating. So
She's totally dedicated, right?
definitely.
And
So
by the way, she can do anything. It doesn't make any difference whether it's abstract, whether it's pencil or
you
watercolor,
seem to be
whatever.
very passionate about her art.
Yes, she is.
Like you're raving about it, and you're really
Oh, yeah,
passionate
she
about
is.
it.
She is. Yeah.
So is she living a life of an artist, or is it just like a hobby that became
No,
something
no,
serious?
but she's not making a living out of it, because she's not like commercially or whatever. So she's the only way that she sold some of the abstract paintings, the size of 4 by 5. Our son-in-law, he started a very very beautiful special furniture shop in Brooklyn, and he said he can sell Dot's paintings, and we brought over, and he sold a ton of them. And but then he got elevated, he moved to his shop to Long Island City, and his whole business got elevated to a stage where he could no longer, the only kind of painting, it's mostly just furniture, it didn't even have room to display the paintings. But if there were paintings, it was only paintings that were like older, or but not for somebody who's unknown, that didn't fit his business anymore. So but at the time that he was still in Brooklyn, he bought it, more than a dozen.
So tell me about the circumstances that led you to actually find yourself in the East End in East Hampton.
Okay, we lived in a larger house in Franklin Lakes, New Jersey, And then we used to come on vacation here, and we stayed at the East Hampton house,
Yes.
on the way.
On 27, yeah.
Right. And we liked it a lot. And we spent like, a week or two here in the summertime. And then one day we went, I remember it exactly, we went to the Carvel, which is up the road
In
here.
Bridgehampton, yeah.
Right. And we had some ice cream. And now it's getting a little bit dark. It's like Twilight Zone. And we, on the way back, on the right-hand side, we saw the sign "House for Sale," but it wasn't by a realtor. It was just
By
private.
the homeowner.
So we looked inside the driveway a little bit, and his dog started barking, barking, barking louder and louder. And the guy came out, and he invited us in to come. And he had all kinds of signs from realtors like plucked in there. The long and the short of it is that we ended up buying that house, but it was like a little cape, but it was really in bad shape. We thought that we would renovate, but so what happened was that we were about to sign the contract.
What year was that?
Ah, around 2002, 2003. So at that time, I'm still at the East Hampton house, all excited about it. It was in July. I come down and they had like a TV with breakfast, and I was watching Wimbledon. Was into tennis. So a guy comes down and I'm all excited. I tell him about it. I said, "Yeah, but I'm going to need an attorney for the closing, and I'm going to need somebody for the renovation, and the person that possibly could help me is not around. So I'm sort of stuck right now. I don't know what to do." So he said, "Whoops, I can help you on all fronts. My son-in-law is a great builder, and his family, they have an incredible attorney. So you can
That took care of
decide."
that, yeah.
And the bottom line is the son-in-law, John Pizzo, ended up, we had to tear down the house. It couldn't be a renovation because it was something, the foundation was old.
Yes, yes.
So we ended up tearing down the house. John Pizzo built the house for us. And Anthony, his attorney, God bless his soul, he passed away. He's the one that did the closing for us. So
That's awesome.
that's how
So
we
you
ended.
still live in the same house now?
Yeah, so we live in the same. So we we only use the house like once in a while here, but uh, when things became like out, too, my kids were grown up, so that house in Franklin Lakes was too big. So we sold the house totally, and then we moved here 100%.
Oh, good.
Yeah,
Awesome.
and that was maybe in 2004, something like
I
that.
see. So it's
Yeah,
been 20
around.
years since.
Yeah, right. And then the only change we made to the house, we didn't like the landscaper that John recommended to us. So we had better landscaping. I mean, nothing fancy, but also later on we did an addition and a renovation. So the house is now bigger,
Yeah, see.
and nicer. So
That's great. So
yeah,
so do you travel to Germany to try and become familiar with the heritage of your father?
okay. When my mom, God bless her,
What is there any desire at all?
well, when my mom was alive, I went there many times because she used to go to a resort called Bad Reichenhall. And as a matter of fact, I was there when when we lived in Israel, and my father was trying to get his stuff organized with the law, and he was able to do that. So we traveled. We traveled but when we left Israel, I was about 14, and then we lived in Berlin for about 9 months. And then, I got to see everything, but Berlin was already no longer in ruins, anything like that. It was pretty fancy already, at least to a boy who came from Ramat Adar. It looked pretty fancy. But there's a resort that that they went to, and I went with them. It's called Bad Reichenhall. It's not far from the Austrian border, from Salzburg.
Mm-hmm.
And so when my mother was alive, she went back there, and I went to visit her many times. So we went to Germany, and then when my son was born, then my wife and I went and spent like a couple of weeks with her in Bad Reichenhall.
So how did you end up in the United States? You didn't.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so that's the.
So right. So
So
my
now, when you were
parents,
14, you were
right,
spent 9 months in Berlin, and then.
right. So then, uh, uh, my dad had an aunt who was a psychiatrist who lived in Rochester. And she sponsored us, and we came here,
As a
of course,
family.
legally.
As a
Yeah, of
family, yeah,
course, yeah.
yeah.
We went by boat from Rotterdam. Anyway,
Did you wave to the lady as you came to the harbor?
I think so, but I loved the boat ride. Was nice.
Yes.
Yeah.
So
And then we ended up living in an apartment on the west side in Manhattan, and then we moved permanently to Rego Park in Queens.
I love it.
Yeah, you know the area?
Yeah, I know
Queens?
the area. Yes, I know where. So, but as far as uh, the 9, was it only 9 months that
9
you
months,
spent
yeah.
in
And
Germany?
I was in school too. They put
Oh,
me in school. Yeah, I
so
was in
do you
school.
speak German, by the way?
Pretty good, yeah.
Pretty
Yeah.
good. That's good. So, because whenever um, um, I visited Germany in 1975, with a family friend, we went to Marburg, and
To where? Which?
Marburg is the university town, Marburg.
Okay, I'm not familiar.
And then it was my first interaction in 1975. It was. I remember when I was there. My mother gave me a golden star of David, and she said, "Go show these people, show your
Show them who
strength."
you are, right?
And I said, "But Mama, I'm only 15, 16. What strength? What show?" She said, "You listen to your mama. You just leave it exposed. You hear me?" I said, "Okay." So then we went. At some point, we went to the bank there to exchange something, and I was with my friend, the family friend, and I had this German guy that was like in his 50s looking at me very closely, and then I realized he's staring at my Star of David.
Yeah.
And I started making the math. I said, if he's 50 and it's 1975, then he must have been like 20 or something in the war. He must have been someone who killed Jews or something. That's the things that I came to my mind. And I went like this, and I put the Star of David inside my shirt. And I said, better safe than sorry. And, but the family friend gave me a crash course because he was an archaeologist and a historian. He got his master's and his PhD at the Marburg University. So when we went there to visit, he gave me a crash course about the heritage, the culture, the language. I picked up the German language there really pretty quickly in
How long were you there?
45 days.
Oh,
But for
short.
me,
Yeah,
but for me, it was like eternity.
yeah, sure.
And I had a girlfriend there and whatnot. It was like a big deal. The early stages. But I always think about Hans Fallada. You know Hans Fallada, the
No.
author?
No.
Well, you need to know who Hans Fallada is. And he wrote the book Alone in Berlin. But he wrote many books that were mind-boggling. He was the only author, German author, that stayed and remained active in Germany during the war.
Jewish?
No, he's not Jewish.
He was
but
not Jewish.
but what he wrote wasn't so simple. He was a fantastic, out of this world writer that managed to really portray the reality. So he was in touch with the Goebbels, the propaganda minister, very closely, because Goebbels was the one that reviewed his books and So sometimes he would be like summoned by Goebbels to come to his office to answer some questions about the book that he wrote or something that he wrote. And he used to always tell him, listen, I could have fled and left Germany and write whatever I wanted from across the border, but I didn't. Not like Heine and the rest of them that just left. So you should give me some credit. And he says, don't get me wrong, I think the world of you, but you cannot publish this or this or that. You have to change this and that. So when you were saying Berlin, suddenly the images and the accurate description on behalf of a master that I read it a few times. I read it in Hebrew and in English. Just came to life suddenly. But I wonder.
So were you in Berlin as well?
Yeah, I was in
Oh, you
Berlin.
were.
Yeah, but very briefly, just to maybe for as we were passing, we went to Frankfurt, we went to
Right,
Berlin, we went
right.
to Mainz, we went to So 45 days I was in Marburg, and 2 weeks we were traveling. So, but I was wondering about your dad, uh, how the early days of the inception of the state of Israel, in his eyes, because obviously he just lost his family in Germany. That must have been. I mean, did he show any emotions? Did you see anything evident that he's mourning the death of
Not,
his
not,
family?
not from him, and not from my mother. When we lived in Israel, my mother got notification that her parents died at Riga. She didn't even know that.
And your dad's parents?
His mother committed suicide, and quite honestly, I'm not sure how his dad died. I'm not sure that it was
And that
concentration
was in
camp.
that was in the years of the war, yeah?
Yes,
Yeah.
after he left, he wasn't there anymore.
Yes, no, I understand. So how was the communication between the families? Was there any communication
Between which
between the
one?
time he left and until the time the war took place? What year did he leave Germany?
What year did he actually leave Germany? I'm not sure. I'm not sure exactly the date, but it was, when Jews were already prosecuted, was like, I think he had some connections because of his position that he
Yeah.
was able to leave, but he left a bit late, so to speak. But
Yes,
my
but
mother left
managed. Yes.
early, so she had no problem leaving.
Yeah. Because the relevance that I'm trying to draw from that is being Jewish, and of course in the face of what's happening now. Not that I'm trying to
Oh,
emphasize any.
yeah.
I never sit here and dwell about what's happening or not, because the world is full of incidents all over the corners of the world, by way of people being victims, finding themselves in the middle of battlefields, and just the desire to create battlefields on the behalf of human beings is something that I wonder about. But 99.9% of the time here, I talk about art, and I talk about music, and I talk about poetry, and I talk
Yes, I
about,
know. Yeah.
yeah, this is the way to go, because this is what really increases the chances of survival for our world. Period. That's I believe that wholeheartedly, without any doubt, without any second thoughts or second guessing myself, clearly. But I mean, it's interesting that you grew with a family that was born in the heart of that place where the Second World War and the Holocaust erupted. So it's I'm very curious to see what goes through the mind and the hearts of the people that manage somehow to find themselves, like in your case with your dad, to the state of Israel. That's fascinating, actually. I find it fascinating.
Well, since I had no idea, I was just a little boy. I had no idea about any of this, so I didn't detect any melodrama from my parents about. I didn't detect.
That's good for you.
I don't remember that.
Hmm.
What I remember the most about Israel and the Palestinians, there was one time when the British were still there, there was an Arab village not far from Ramat Adar, and I remember with British supervision, I guess they had to leave the Arabs. So the British soldier, he had sort of a problem with a donkey that was not behaving. So he said to me, he said, "Do you want to have the donkey?" I said, "Yeah, give me the donkey." So I had a donkey, but the donkey that didn't last very long because somebody stole my donkey.
Oh boy.
Yeah, but that was fun. I remember just distinctly. There are only certain things that you remember from your childhood that stand out. I mean,
Yeah, definitely.
yeah.
So, so as far as the evolutionary process of you being born in Israel, then traveling to the United States, and what was like the process, like your education, your creative
Okay, so
journey?
when we
What shape did it take?
well, we moved to Rego Park, and then I entered Forest Hills High School, which was basically walking distance or going there with a bike. So I graduated from there, and and then I went to Queens College, and then while I was in Queens College, I remember distinctly because that was something very very important, that bunch of kids, were talking, said, "Oh, wouldn't it be great to go to a school, not in the city but outside someplace?" And then somebody mentioned, "Oh yeah, University of Hawaii." So I said, "Yeah," and everybody dispersed. And what did I do? Immediately, I went to the library to look up the book about University of Hawaii, and I ended up going to University of Hawaii for 1 year,
Oh, that's
my junior
awesome.
my junior year.
Now that's a very adventurous
Yeah,
young guy you were.
again, I made,
Yeah,
I took action.
that's a good
They
point.
only talked about it.
Yes, and you.
They dispersed, and I said, "I got to take action
Yeah,
on
I think
this.
I'm gonna
I
do
got to
that.
check this out," and I did.
That's uh, I just need to. Yes. Uh, Let me just mention that we're sitting here with Michael Leventhal, here Friday morning, April 26th, year 2024, here with the Hello Hello Show. And I also wanted to remind that tomorrow we have the opening for the solo exhibition that is being put together for Frank Sofo, that passed away about 3 months ago. So it's a great opportunity. The 27th, tomorrow, Saturday, between 3 and 6. Of course, you're all invited. So that's pretty much it. Let me just see. Okay, we're good with time. Um, apropos your personality. Okay, you're gonna talk about it, but after you leave, I'm gonna go in and research and see maybe I can make it happen. So, but shouldn't it be a given in our lives?
I got to blow my nose.
Yeah, that's
Put the camera off.
so. Shouldn't it be a given to have that curiosity? That nowadays it's a special thing to act upon your desires, while it should be something normal, something that is. Why do you think we're so hesitant and so less experimental? It should be, especially in this day and age, that people would be experimenting right and left uncontrollably almost. Why is it the opposite so much?
Most people have fear.
And that fear stems from.
The unknown, I don't know. Has never been my case. So, I mean, I took advantage always.
So let's just say when you were growing up and going to high school in Queens,
Yeah.
what kind of social interactions and what kind of conversations took place there? Let's say in your late teenagehood. Uh, what was the topic? What kind of conversations took place? If you were to think
Never,
about today's, you know,
yeah, never, ever, ever anything political because there was no, didn't even exist.
yeah.
You know, conversation took place. Basically about girls.
Don't mind me.
No, no, it's okay.
Don't pay attention to me.
No, most of my friends were actually also foreigner born. You know, some from South America, some from. I remember one girl from Turkey and from again South America, Colombia, and I don't remember meeting any Israeli kids there. Yeah, but it was fun. I've no. I just remember having a good time.
Well, the only really reason that why I want to venture into this direction is just thinking about, you know, like also being Jewish, growing up Jewish in the area of New York in those years, and what's the significance of that? Was there
Didn't
any?
no
It was just like,
nothing.
do you
Didn't
think it was due to the fact of the kind of a person you were,
didn't
that
didn't
you
affect.
managed to actually engage in other ways that didn't leave any room for discussions about, oh, you're Turkish, you're Jewish, you're
No,
Christian?
didn't never existed in my life.
Never that.
Never existed in my life. As a matter of fact, when it came to girls, I had sort of an advantage. They always said, "Oh, I love your accent," so that gave me a little advantage. No, I never had any. There was never anything about discrimination. You're Jewish or you're foreigner. Nothing, nothing.
I'm surprised to hear that. That's good for
Never,
you. That's great.
never ever.
But I think in your case, it
Not
really.
not in high school and not any time in later in life. Never.
But did you see anything that's happening around you in that sense?
No,
It just sounds a little too
no,
perfect to be good, to
no.
be real.
I didn't see anything around me. Which is you're talking about like we have now, anti-Semitic and
Yeah, yeah,
no,
or just like the tension, just
I
basic tension
no,
between.
never. Not in my life. Maybe because I didn't have a beard and wore a yarmulke. That may be the case.
You think that was the only way that he could associate someone with either being Jewish or any other?
But I don't know. I'm saying that if I was, you know, like Chabad, like Hasidic, and
Yeah,
then I had a kippah and a beard and wore differently, you know, then maybe then I would have encountered stuff like that. But otherwise, I intermingled. I don't think anybody really paid attention who I am, what I am. That's been my experience.
yeah.
So I don't know.
No, that sounds good. So, well, okay. So I want to go a little bit back to art, you know, and so uh, the uh, you, the reality unfolding as far as your wife is concerned, being an artist in a certain capacity.
What do you mean by certain capacity?
Meaning that, you know, obviously if I see these paintings and I think about the fact that there's a whole full body of work of art, that means there's got to be a person that's dedicated,
Oh,
that's actually
she's
painting.
totally dedicated. She grew up from the beginning, you know, being into art, being into two things, art and horses. I mean, it's and I always tell people, you know, when it comes to horses, you know, I say it as a joke, but it's pretty true. I said if it's between me and a horse, I lose.
You lose.
Yeah,
Does she own a horse?
she owned a horse when she grew up, but no, here she only thinks she had rented a horse, she shared a horse, and she loved riding it, but she hasn't. That was, you know, already a couple of years ago. So
Yes, because I know a lot of women that I painted their homes that own horses and their
yeah,
passion
no,
for
she doesn't
horses.
own a horse. No,
Yeah. So what's okay? So what's the aspiration? Okay, where are we going from here?
Where do you want to go?
No, no, not this discussion. I'm talking about life. So where are we going from here? What's right there when we open the door, and what is it that we're expecting? What is it that we wish for? I mean,
I
obviously,
wish for my wife to be well. She's like, it's like, luckily, she's recovering well. Everything was caught early, but it's done something to her personality, and now she's bound to take this medication that has she's not tolerated. It gives her pain and all the like arthritis or something like that. It's like she wakes up, she's all stiff and everything. So, and she was like an acrobat before.
yes.
So that's my main concern, is dealing with that. And then I have my issues, with balance and all of that. So that's really, we are pretty much
For
occupied
someone
with.
who has balance issues, you look very sturdy. That's
Believe me, but you don't see me walk, and that's why I'm going to PT also, to help me with it. But I'm a lot better, but way off from my normal.
I know
When I
for
look at my body, my legs used to be the strongest part of my body, and now they're the weakest. I
yeah.
mean, my wife and I, we hiked Machu Picchu, and that's going back maybe 10 years ago or so. And we loved hiking, and I do still have my bike. I've been doing biking a lot, my racing bike,
Hmm.
going 15 miles, 20 miles.
Yes, yes,
So, but
great.
right now it's like I'm being hindered from doing any of that right now.
Yes, but that's why I was hoping that if I introduce Dr. John Sarno to you, that
Yeah,
it will
well,
be. You were
no,
wondering
no,
when
I
we're going to start
really,
talking about Dr. John Sarno.
yeah, I was waiting for you to bring that up.
But you see, I was
Look,
very.
I want to tell you how much I appreciate that you're a very kind person and you look out for other people. So I really appreciate, because you believed 100% that this would help me. And you mentioned that it didn't help me because I didn't do it seriously, but that's not really the case. I read both books, and I read certain chapters several times over. I did my homework and everything, and nothing happened. As a matter of fact, and I want to tell you something that I don't want you to take it the wrong way, because I don't believe there's any relationship, but it just happens to be by coincidence, the timing. So, right at that point, when I was doing, reading and being really into it, I was in the gym, just stepping the wrong way, and I injured badly my Achilles tendon in my left leg. And I was put into a cast for 6.5 weeks. So when I came out of that cast, I had to go to PT, but my balance was shot. When I mean, it was really bad. Right now it's improved, but still, when I walk, I'm not steady. I'm wobbling, and
Yes, rightfully so. Yes,
yeah.
because you went through a trauma.
So so that's coincidentally just when I was doing the
But
PT. I I mean, I'm no. I
okay,
started telling you that
the thing is that
there's no
you don't need to be
there's
defensive.
no
This is
relationship about it. And
but
then my wife, by the way, she read both books too. She was into it. What happened to her? She got cancer, breast cancer. Again, strictly a
one thing has
coincidence.
nothing
I know,
nothing to
I
do with
know,
the
I
other.
know, I
But
know.
the point is,
It didn't.
if you read the books,
Yeah,
that you should know that what happened to you, Achilles,
yeah,
was not accidental. Because your mind knows everything there is to know about your body. So when your mind wants to lead you into the injury that you had, it's because that area was the most susceptible to be affected by an accident. So that's why Dr. John Sano speaks about the 99.9% of the time when you get pain,
I remember.
you get pain that you can actually prove it when you have CT and all this. So he says the mind knows that you know that you have issue with your gastrointestinal, so it will affect you here mostly, or the shoulders, or whatever, all the injuries supposedly. So the mind will do it accordingly usually. Very rarely that the action of the mind will be outside of the realm of the things that are known to you, if you know what I mean. So, but the thing is that uh, it most of the people who don't benefit from Dr. John Sarno are those that were premature in their decision making process. So
Okay.
I believe me, I
Everybody.
remember that I used to be with Dr. John Sarno, and I used to ask him questions, and he used to look at me and he says, listen, you just asked me a question that I answered you maybe a dozen times in the past. Why are you asking it again? I said, because I'm scared and I feel miserable and I feel vulnerable and I feel pain and I want it to go away. I said, okay, that we can talk about. But don't ask me questions that you got answers for, clear answers, because we're not in the business of, we're in the business of marching forward. So you think when I heard him speak, I said, my God, this guy repeats himself like a parrot. And that I didn't like that so much. But then I realized the magic of it. I realized that this world-renowned individual doesn't just sit there and repeat himself because he's got nothing to say. It's because this is what it's all about. You have to hammer the issues and you have to stick by what works in that sense. So, and our society is already, in the prison that was set up for it to confine their ability to be dominant in the over their body and over the scenarios that the world is going through. You think cancer is bad? Look at all the back issues throughout the planet Earth. Look how many billions are affected by it and shuddered.
I
I
fully
was
agree with
walking
all of that.
around. I was walking around. I couldn't even go to the bathroom. That's how bad my sciatica was. Hindered and completely took out of commission my feet. I got heart palpitations, melancholia. I got, so many aspects to that confusion and constant pain. I was on 3 different painkillers 24/7. So, in my case, if you were to ask me then to envision myself today, 12 years later, I would tell you that I would be like the way I am. I would tell you don't know what you're talking about. I would tell you 12 years from now, I'll probably have 3 different kind of surgeries in the hands of people that don't quite know what they're doing, even though they're world-renowned surgeons. So planet Earth is governed by that, and inventing all these like fibromyalgia. Have you ever heard of fibromyalgia?
Yes.
Good. That's an invention. That's a criminal invention that you take multi-symptom scenario and call it fibromyalgia and invent a medicine for it. That's criminal. Right there, criminal.
No, I
And
realize that.
so
I don't argue with
so
that.
no, so you have a in our world, I'm saying, because I already uh, showered you with all this, so I'm talking to you like a veteran. We're equal. You graduated, but since you met
But
me and we
look,
talked about that Dr. Chazo, you
yeah,
graduated
yeah, I
already.
know. I really appreciate it, and I am totally convinced that it so much helped you, and it so much helped other people. In my case, we can argue from here to you can convince me, tell me all of this. It's not for me. That's the bottom line.
Yeah.
And I'm sorry. I wish it could have. As a matter of fact, I remember that while I was doing that, and my back was hurting so much, and I had an appointment to get a cortisone shot, and I said, maybe I shouldn't get it because I'm embarrassed to tell that to Haim. you know, I was really feeling bad that if I did that, I would have to tell Haim or lie. So
Do
I
you
didn't
know
wa-
why
I
I
didn't want
met?
to do that.
Do you know why I met Dr. John Sarno? Because I called Dr. John Sarno after I read his book, and I told him, magic. I read the book and I feel the difference. I can't believe you. I need to see you. And he said, no, you don't need to see me because it seems like it's working on you. That's good. Leave it at that. Guess what? I told him, but I'm scheduled to get a cortisone shot in a week from now. I still have the pain. He said, okay, I'm going to see you tomorrow. Come tomorrow. Come tomorrow. Come tomorrow. Immediately. I didn't understand the gravity of it. But when I went there, he said, I needed to save you because this is almost like a no return. There's no return from that. It's like you don't want to go there at all. And then I learned so much about it and educated myself in that sense. Uh, Also, I went to the therapist, because he put together a whole group of therapists that are compatible with TMS. And when I went to see the head of the department that agreed to see me, even though I didn't really need it, she shook my hand and she said, I'm looking forward to learning so much from you today as a therapist.
I remember you told me that story.
So right there, it made sense. It really did make sense. And I still felt like I'm getting a very constructive session here that probably in the Freudian reality will take you like 2 years to achieve what we achieved in one session. It was unbelievable. But it's amazing how the world is ready to make drastic decisions without giving a chance to something that it's because for the most part it's because they don't know how close they are to the breakthrough and to resolutions. If we would
All
have
right,
if we would have known how close we are to that breakthrough, and maybe we will decide differently. It's because we always feel like it's either it's impossible or it's so far away. Who wants to deal with it? Anyway, that's that.
Anyway, all I can say is
at least I made you read the books.
I'm convinced it helped you, and I'm so happy that it helped you. I mean, that's really the bottom line.
At least I'm glad that you picked up the book and read them. That's good.
Both of them.
It
right.
probably helped you in ways that you're not
Yeah,
aware
no,
of.
it was very interesting.
Yes, definitely. So, well, let me see what we have here. Yeah. I want to thank you for being here with me.
We done?
Yeah, 57 minutes.
And you didn't even harm me.
That's why you're gonna have to come
no
again.
Reason to be scared.
See, I allowed you to express yourself as much as you needed. Let me just say we're gonna be here tomorrow as much as we were here yesterday, and as much as we're here this morning, Friday morning, April 26th, year 2024, here with the Hello Show. And Michael Lowenthal is here with us. Michael, thank you so much. I really appreciate it.
It's my pleasure.
See,
I enjoyed it very much.
It was so harmless, huh?
And I love you. You're a terrific
yes,
guy.
You too. I love you too. I love you too, my friend.
You are a terrific guy.
Keep up the good spirits. Don't forget, tomorrow, the 27th, 3 to 6, we have the opening here. Thank you, Michael, again. I really appreciate it.